The final shape is fast approaching, my friends, and if you're returning to D2 to finish the saga and shove the witness into a locker, you may need to catch up a little bit in the weapon department, depending on how long you've been away for. If you haven't played the game in, say, years, you might have absolutely no idea what's good in PvE anymore. Or maybe you've been playing this whole time, but you just want extra weapon advice for the final shape. Either way, I got you. Let's go over what I consider to be 16 must-have PvE weapons going into the final shape. A good number of these are going to be group weapon options that fall under one umbrella. Don't worry, you'll see what I mean eventually. Also, be sure to check the pinned comment for honorable mentions and additional notes. Anyway, in no real order and kicking off our list at number 16, Indebted Kindness. I promise that many options on today's list will be free to earn weapons, but first on the list is not one of them. If you don't know, the Indebted Kindness is a sidearm that runs on special ammo and fires small rocket projectiles instead of bullets. The Kindness not only hits really hard, but has access to two perks that shine damn bright in PvE, Lead from Gold and Volt Shot. Volt Shot will let you shred through clumped up trash a little bit easier, as we all know, and Lead from Gold allows you to manage your ammo a lot better, which the Kindness does very well. With good ammo management mods, you can almost use it like a primary weapon. You can even be bold and include it in a double special loadout if you know what you're doing. Either way, it's a damn fine weapon that I love dearly, arc build or not. Indebted Kindness can be obtained from the first encounter in the Warlord's Ruin dungeon and is actually quite easy to farm. At number 15, Scatter Signal. One of two fusion rifles on our list today, Scatter Signal is just a straight up reliable weapon with good perks, solid origin trait, and the ability to be crafted. Rapid fire frames are usually the archetype of choice for fusion rifles in PvE, just because you don't want to be sitting around taking forever to charge up your next shot while getting knocked around by the enemy. Usually you're much better off spamming lighter damage faster. The go-to perks are usually Overflow or Slice in column 3 and Controlled Burst in column 4. I prefer Overflow for column 3, but you do you. If you didn't know, Controlled Burst is pretty free in general in PvE. Free damage and better charge time for using your fusion rifle no differently than you normally would. On top of that, your origin trait gives good benefits if a teammate dies or if you take too much damage, which is bound to happen eventually, especially if you're playing slightly tougher content. Scatter Signal can be obtained either via the Coil or Riven's Lair activity. Reminder that you can get one free deep sight weapon per activity per day in Destiny 2 between now and the final shape, so you got a really good chance of getting a crafted Scatter Signal before the final shape. Coming in at number 14, a weapon getting a big glow up in the final shape, Outbreak Perfected. Outbreak is already a pretty respectable weapon in PvE and something I always keep in my back pocket in day one raids just in case. Last week, when I was out of town by the way, Bungie mentioned that pulse rifles would be getting a huge damage buff in PvE, plus 20% versus all combatants. Goddamned incredible. Even if nanite damage is not affected by that buff, it would still be a big recommend from me. However, if nanite damage is also buffed, and there's no reason right now to think that it wouldn't be, then it's an omega big recommend from me. Outbreak is currently available in the 0-hour mission, free to all players with Into the Light. I have a guide on how to beat that mission if you're having trouble, link down in the pinned comment. At number 13, Forbearance. I know, it's getting nerfed in the final shape, but bear with me real quick. To those unfamiliar, Forbearance is a grade A workhorse of a weapon. Fire at a wave of trash enemies, kill a bunch of them with both wave and explosion damage via chain reaction, rinse and repeat. Forbearance has been king easy mode ad clear in D2 for a while now, so Bungie's toning down special wave frames in general with a shorter wavelength and toning down the power of chain reaction. Now, while it's possible that Forbearance will be a shell of its former self come final shape, I don't think it will be, and considering how easy it is to farm right now, I think it would be kind of dumb to not mention it to returning players to get right now. I'd say either go with Ambitious Assassin in column 3 to overflow the mag after a kill, or go with Demolitionist to generate a ton of grenade energy and to potentially fire twice by chucking a nade in between shots. Both roles are currently godly. Again, it won't be as incredible in final shape, but I doubt it'll be flat out dead. You can farm Forbearance in Onslaught, currently free to all players as part of Into the Light. Next at number 12, Edge Transit. Edge Transit is a great DPS weapon, and grenade launchers do really well in fights where your damage window is a little bit longer than usual, meaning you're not trying to cram a ton of damage into a really tight short window where I'd usually bring something like a rocket launcher. The role most folks should be looking for IMO is going to be Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch. TLDR, get a bunch of kills on trash enemies leading up to the damage phase, then when DPS begins, do very quick damage with your other two weapons, then whip out your Edge Transit, which should have an overflowed mag by now, then fire away and reap the benefits of Bait and Switch, then you just empty the drum into that poor son of a bitch. Spike Grenades is ideal for column 2, but if yours doesn't have that, not the end of the world. Edge Transit is currently farmable for free in Onslaught. Next at number number 11, Apex Predator. For short DPS windows, when you and your team want to hit one enemy as hard as you can in a very limited time, Apex is a mandatory weapon pick going into the final shape. Now, even though rocket launchers weren't directly nerfed in the recent weapon tuning article, Bungie is killing all weapon mods that give extra damage, aka minor spec, major spec, boss spec, you get it. Other weapon types are getting a minor damage buff, so for them, the trade-off is kind of a wash, with rockets losing the extra damage factor from weapon mods like boss spec, but also not getting buffed in any way. The end result for rocket launchers is a small damage nerf. Same thing with grenade launchers, by the way. But that being said, rockets still should be really good going into the final shape, meaning the usual 1 Gjallarhorn and 5 Apex launcher combo probably ain't going anywhere. If you're new to D2, 1 Gjallarhorn to give all the nearby Apex Predators free Wolfpack rounds. The most common roll by a mile is Impact Casing in column 2, Reconstruction in column 3, and Bait and Switch in column 4. Reconstruct will auto-load you up to 2 in the chamber before DPS even begins, so you can take immediate advantage of Bait and Switch right away on the second shot. Again, very smart bet that Apex and Gjallarhorn will absolutely be a very common option on day 1 raid teams across the board. Do not get one at your own peril. Apex can currently be obtained in the Last Wish raid, as well as focusable at Riven via Wish tokens. At number 10, take your pick between Zauli's Bane, Epochal Integration, Sunshot, or Luna's Howl. In short, a good solar primary weapon that makes things burn. Let me explain why we got 4 options together under one umbrella. Even if you're a year 1 player who took a long break, you probably have Sunshot, and even though it's getting slightly toned down in the final shape, it'll likely still be really good. However, just in case it gets over-adjusted, it would be good to diversify. Zauli's Bane is my go-to backup solar primary with explosive payload and incandescent. I freaking love that gun, but you get it through either the Kingsfall raid or Pantheon, and in the event that you maybe don't have enough time to grind one out, Epochal Integration comes with incandescent and is a curated role, meaning you just get the one and you're done. If you're a 100% free-to-play player though, your ultimate fallback option is Luna's Howl, available in Onslaught. Luna can roll with Heal Clip and Incandescent, which is great for PvE. Grab whichever option you want, but make sure you have at least one going into the final shape. At number 9, Dragon's Breath. If you've been out of Destiny for a really long time, you might either be laughing or scratching your head right now, but I promise you, D2 Dragon's Breath is no joke. It's not a weapon you want everyone on the team rocking at the same time. That's actually counterintuitive damage-wise due to how Scorch works. But without any duplicates on the field, you can deal a lot of damage with this thing, even also lighten half the room on fire in the process. Extremely synergistic with solar builds in PvE if that is your thing. Don't forget to finish the exotic catalyst if you can to push the effectiveness up even further. At number 8, Riptide or Deliverance. Go ahead and take your pick between the two, but TLDR, you're looking for a stasis fusion rifle with Chill Clip. Chill Clip is really awesome in PvE on chunkier targets. Apply immediate stacks of slow to make dealing with said target even easier. Even though Chill Clip was nerfed for being too awesome a while back, it still is a very effective way of dealing with literally every champion in the game. Overload champions get stunned from slow right away, unstoppable champions get stunned when you build up enough slow to freeze and then shatter them, and barrier champions can get shut off if you're Radiant, meaning a Solar Guardian capable of becoming Radiant at will can handle every champion type in the game with a Chill Clip Riptide or Deliverance. In my opinion, Riptide is way easier to get between the two. You can focus it at shacks if you've got enough engrams saved up. For Riptide, you can either go auto-loading holster or lead from gold in column 3, your call. Deliverance is a little bit harder to get, gotta get that via the Vow of the Disciple raid. Still gonna include it here on the list today for those who are allergic to PvP. Next at number 7, another bunch where you can take your pick, Recluse or the Ross Arago 4. The TLDR here, a great void primary weapon, especially if Bungie reveals in a future TWID that the final shape artifact will be very void heavy. Recluse is probably going to be the easier out of the two to get. It's free for all players via the Onslaught activity right now. My quick and easy recommendations are either Feeding Frenzy, Subsistence, or Repulsor Brace in column 3, and Frenzy, Destabilizing Rounds, or Desperate Measures in column 4. Destabilizing Rounds is usually my go-to for PvE if I'm running a void build to begin with. Arago is a fun void rifle that has access to Onslaught. That's fun when paired together with Subsistence in column 3. Arago is harder to farm at the moment. It's in the world loot pool, aka you gotta get kinda lucky in order to get one to drop. Thankfully though, when the final shape launches, Arago will be focusable, so keep that in mind. And on that note, number 6, take your pick between Subjunctive, the Ikelos SMG, the Waking Vigil, and Nation of Beasts. The TLDR there, a great arc primary weapon featuring Volt Shot. A good Volt Shot primary is hard to beat, and if you're a fan of arc builds in general, or want to spread around Jolt on a prismatic build, you're going to want to be ready. Go after the Subjunctive or the Ikelos if you favor SMGs and PvE, and go after a Waking Vigil or Nation of Beasts if you prefer hand cannons. At number 5, we have Necrochasm. Out of every weapon on today's list, this one might be one of the more challenging ones to earn if you're a returning player, but I gotta mention it. Necrochasm is already a damn good ad clear weapon right now, and it's getting buffed in the final shape. Built-in intrinsic outlaw, increased burn duration, and a rebuilt catalyst, which is basically a better version of One for All. On top of that, auto rifles are getting a plus 15% damage buff on red bar enemies, so Necro is going to shred way better than it does already. Necrochasm can be earned by beating the Crota's End raid and doing the Bottomless Pit exotic weapon quest. It'll probably be a pain in the ass, but man, will it be worth it. At number 4, Pardon Our Dust, or any auto-loading and disorienting grenade launcher. I've gotten into a fair number of debates about overall viability of this type of weapon, usually to the tune of, why use your special as a utility when you can just hit hard like with an Indebted Kindness? I will make believers out of those people yet. Don't get me wrong, I love to hit hard, but disorienting nades are addictively good. Immobilizing entire waves of enemies with one grenade is so good, especially in 6-man content like raids where you're sure to have plenty of firepower already throughout the team. My go-to launcher in this department is either the Truth Teller, which I just got via a Lucky World drop, but you can also go after the Pardon Our Dust, earnable via the Dares of Eternity activity. Hard recommend you get one, effective as hell. Number 3, Wave Splitter. I want to make a note here that honestly any trace rifle has the potential to be really good in the final shape, as they're getting a 20% damage buff on both red and orange bar enemies. Depending on what element you like, that should determine what you go for, i.e. if you like burning things, maybe go for a retraced path with incandescent and so on. If I had to narrow it down to just one though, I'ma go with Wave Splitter. The entire loop of the weapon is tied to getting Orbs of Power, which are extremely easy to generate right now in D2. Getting one briefly maxes the damage output of the gun and allows you to also suppress targets. Very handy for void builds and hopefully will tie in big with Prismatic too. Wave Splitter can be obtained through random exotic engram drops and through Xur. At number 2, and bear with me here, Divinity. Yes, I know that Bungie announced a weird nerf for the gun, and on top of that, it ain't exactly easy to get. First things first, Divinity's cage will take longer to summon on a target. Even though that is annoying, I very much doubt the change will be the death of the gun. Certain bosses who have difficult to hit crit spots and are difficultly mobile will still fear Divinity. Besides, even if it takes a tad more to get the cage going, once it's up you'll still be able to easily keep it going via tap firing, which apparently Bungie calls feathering, kinda weird. Cenotaph Warlocks probably won't even feel the change at all, to be honest, and that loadout will definitely be in my back pocket for the day 1 raid just in case. As mentioned, the Divinity is unfortunately kind of a pain to get. You have to complete a hidden exotic quest during the Garden of Salvation raid. Good news though, plenty of guys out there that can show you how to do just that. Finally, at number 1, Gjallarhorn. Some things never change. I wouldn't say Gjallarhorn is the best weapon in the game, but it's really damn good at what it does. And what it does is give every damn legendary rocket launcher in the party free Wolfpack rounds, which is key when dealing rocket launcher DPS. That's really all there is to it. If your raid team is dealing rocket launcher DPS, it ain't a party till Gjallarhorn fires the first shot. If you don't have any other cracked rocket launcher, you can still at least help your team by being the galley guy. It also has 2 in the mag, which is kinda nice. Gjallarhorn can be obtained by completing the And Outfly the Wolves exotic quest, which is tied to the Destiny 2 30th anniversary content pack. If you have any weapons you consider must-have for the final shape, at least for PvE anyways, by all means let me know what they are down in the comment section. Reminder to check out the pinned comment for additional notes and thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Peace!